I'd like to call the regular board meeting, the Richmond Township Board of Trustees meeting to order. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, Kathy?
Sure. Cindy Greenya. Here. Kathy LaFontaine. Here. Chris DeVos.
Here.
Vern Coleman.
Here.
And Cheryl Zalka.
Is absent, so would I...
Is she excused?
Excused absent, yes.
That's all you got.
Do I need a motion, or a motion for that, or no?
You excuse me, she's...
Okay. All right, well, thank you. Next item we have tonight is the presentation of agenda. Is there anything anybody would like to add or remove from the agenda tonight? I would just like to add the holiday schedule under 13D. That's okay. Hearing nothing else, on the agenda will stand as presented. Next item we have is the public comment on agenda items only. Any members of the public tonight? So next item we have is the approval of the minutes from the September 8, 2021 regular board meeting. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes? If you have, take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Support?
Support.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Next item we have on the agenda tonight is the consent agenda. For the consent agenda, we have the building department report, EMS report, office manager report, planning commission report, and NEMC minutes. Is there anything anybody would like to remove from the consent agenda tonight? Hearing none, can I get a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make that motion.
With support?
Support.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Next item we have tonight is the financial reports. In your packet, we'll have the bills from Kathy. Anybody have any questions for Kathy about the bills? Is that Vern?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
You look good.
Fantastic. If there's no questions, can I get a motion to approve and pay bills as presented?
So moved.
Support?
Support.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Next item we have is the treasurer's report. I'm not going to read through all the treasurer's report, but the board has had an opportunity to look at it. Are there any questions you would like me to take back to our treasurer?
I'm assuming a lot of that tax account is going somewhere.
Yes. Yeah, because I can't speak on that too much.
I can speak on one thing on the bottom there, closed. Cheryl gave me a check. She closed out an account at North Star, and I reopened it at PNC. I worked with our business banker to reopen the drain account, so now we can just move back
Oh,
and
that's
forth,
great.
and there'll be no
No,
service.
there's a fee or something.
There's no fee.
Great idea.
There was a big fee at North Star, or wherever she was, had the account, on First State.
Because it was below a certain amount, right?
They wanted $2,500 balance.
Oh.
And then once in a while it went under, and yeah. But through the whole commotion, I think we were only out like $25, and she got a lot
Right.
put back in, and I let's just move it to the rest of us. So that's where that is.
Okay.
Thanks.
Perfect, thank you. Anything else on the treasurer's report? If nothing else, the treasurer's report will stand as presented. Thank you. Next item we have is farmland preservation. Bert, do we have anything new there?
Nothing really new, kind of the status quo. The grant is sitting there, it's signed, it's ours, we have 2 years to finalize it. Kathy's basically in charge of that now, I don't know if she has anything for it.
I'm working with that lady, it's wonderful to work with.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the state seems like they're pretty,
Yeah.
their team's pretty easy to work with. If you've got questions, they'll try to help you. They're not, they don't seem to be, iron fisted.
I go to Vern first, so I don't totally stupid. I just know what I need to find out.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Anything else on that, Bert? Good. All set, Bert?
Yep.
Perfect. Any other questions, Bert?
later, I haven't heard anything from him, so if you got called on the road.
Probably.
I think he was over at the senior center when I,
Oh, I think.
his pickup was there, so I don't know what he's doing.
Well, maybe we'll go back to him then.
Big house, there's not a leak.
I don't know, but his truck was over there.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I guess they're right there. Okay, we'll skip that for a minute. Next we have on the agenda is the Assessors Report. Does anybody have anything they'd like me to take back to Christine this month?
I am curious, because I sincerely don't know how this works. She mentioned in here that she sent, is it Sean? Sean and Andrew out to Toys. And I know it sounds stupid, but I did not think greenhouses were taxable because they are not permanent structure. So I don't know. So I guess there's a new barn going up, but it's ag. So I guess I would just like some explanation on if why that is, because I sincerely remember greenhouses are not permanent. Am I wrong? Isn't that how it goes? Greenhouses are not permanent.
It comes down to the type of greenhouse and how they're anchored, and
Okay.
I'm not a greenhouse expert, but I guess just to clarify on a lot of that, that's what we had talked about. I was
Okay.
actually waiting to get that full report.
Yeah, if
On
you
that,
could,
just to see.
and then just have her give a little explanation of that, I would appreciate it. Only because I read that 3 or 4 times and I was just a little surprised, that's all.
Okay.
You know, if there was any permit thing on there, then they had to
Sure.
do something. Just curious.
Yeah, absolutely, I am too, and I'll make sure to get that. So I get that from her, I'll pass it along to the board.
And then I'd also like, it'd be interesting, when we find that information out in comparison to their old one, because this greenhouse in the barn is identical to what's on the old property. And
Yeah,
I remember me and you going out.
yep, I do too.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'm sure she can tell us, I'm just
Yeah.
curious and would like to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will find out and report back to you.
Mr. White's here.
I see.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to put it on right away, but Jeff, we skipped over building report.
Well, you guys are kind of moving right along.
We are, yeah. We can go back, we're going back to right now.
Really, I don't think I've got anything to report on. We did make the application for a possible grant to replace the generator in the building. That's really, I think, everything we've got. We're still, all contractors are just way behind. We've got a painter that we want to come look at the building. But we just haven't been able to get out and do that yet. We did put that in the budget this year. And probably the only other thing that I'll have coming up, I think probably we'll talk about in December or January, is we have begun to set aside funds to replace the red pickup truck. We'll have to set aside, I don't think we haven't set aside all the funds we need for that as yet. We'll need to do some more in the upcoming year budget. But given the time it is taking currently to get vehicles,
For sure.
I would probably be suggesting to the board that maybe we look at placing an order about January, thinking that maybe we'll have it by a year from this Christmas at that point. So, so I'll probably be talking to the board a little bit about that in the coming months. So.
Do we know, and I don't want to go way down deep here, it's me being curious, the COVID monies that we're going to be getting, did we talk at all about what we're going to spend that on? I was just thinking that truck would probably be something.
Well, I know Jeff probably have more info on the how, or maybe we're still trying to find out.
I think that, so, I've sat in a couple meetings on this, and there certainly is a lot of various information out there about what you may or may not be able to use this money on. And I think the honest answer is, at this point, I'm just not sure. Because sometimes there are some parts of it you read that sounds like you can use these funds for COVID mitigation, which certainly any kind of vehicle that's used for the EMS we think would qualify.
For sure.
But the caveat to that is, I know MTA put out something, and basically what it said is, the question was asked, can you use this for an ambulance? And the MTA's answer was, assuming the township had a revenue loss due to COVID. So some of these monies are being tied back to a revenue or a perceived revenue loss, and how that revenue loss is calculated Now it gets a little bit more complicated than that. Let's say you had the same revenue this year as you did in 2018. There should have been a cost of living increase in there. So if your revenues have remained flat, you may be able to qualify that as a loss because your revenue should have grown by a certain reasonable inflationary index, right? So I share all that very broadly to say, I think we're going to probably want to get two people's opinion on this as we go forward. One is probably legal counsel, and the other is our auditor. And make certain that what I don't want to do is recommend to the township we spend that money on something that is, they'll spend on whatever you want. They're going to basically deposit the money in your bank. They're not going to even ask, they're not going to ask an application. The money's going to hit your accounts, and it's going to be there where you expect. That all sounds good, right until the time that it also says, oh, by the way, we reserve the right to take the money back if you don't spend it correctly. So I don't want to find out after 2024, because you have until 2024 to spend this. So I don't want to find out after 2024 that we end up owing money back to the federal government because we spent on something that we well-meaningly thought was appropriate that didn't meet all the criteria. So might have been a longer answer than but that's the only answer I've got right now. And I think that that's something that maybe as more information comes available, and the information still today is gray at best, but as more information comes available, maybe, the supervisor and I, and, bring in your, maybe another member of the board, and then bring in your professionals, being legal and accounting, and get a better idea of what falls. There may be some other areas, by the way, that EMS that allows us to use that money. There may be some wage issues that might be easier to spend on. So you might be able to spend on wages and then transfer that money to vehicles, if you will. But those are still questions that have to be.
Sorry, I was just curious.
Yeah,
I figured someone was going to ask tonight, so I came kind of prepared.
Thank you.
So Survey and I just sat together in a meeting on that. I'm just going to turn to I think I reflected that pretty well as far as what we were told in the meeting. He and I were both set very well.
Okay. Well, fantastic. Any other questions for Jeff?
Yeah, I see that we spent some money on repairs on the lawnmower. Is the lawnmower in need to be replaced, or did we budget for that?
No, the one that we had to do some repairs on, it was one of the newer units. The repair based, in full disclosure, when things got really wet, it got slid a bit into a ditch. There was a little bit of damage because they slid off kind of the edge into the ditch. There was a little bit of damage to the mower that had to be repaired. So that mower is in decent shape. It was only, time flies, but I want to say that particular device is only maybe 4 years old. So we're still in a good place on that thing.
I thought we had some money for the tractor and put it in the budget.
We did.
Yeah, we set aside some money for a small tractor with a small bucket, but we didn't. Again, I think we budgeted partials. We didn't budget enough to do any complete purchase, whether it be the truck or the tractor. I don't believe this year. I have to look at the budget. That's my recollection. We started to set money aside for that, but we didn't budget all.
Great. Okay. Anything else for Jeff? Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Hearing nothing else, we'll move on. We did assessors reports. We'll go down to unfinished business. Medical marijuana update. We've included some articles for your reading enjoyment. Any questions or comments or updates on anything on that front?
I think you're all aware that me and Lori went over to the other place. Board member and guy wasn't there, couldn't get his. And I don't know if it's ever, did we ever get it? Have you guys went back?
They went to court yesterday, and I haven't heard anything from Sharon.
But we never got to inspect it, right, or did you guys go?
No, but I was going to ask you if you wanted to go with Lori. I mean, if I'm available, I don't mind going, but I thought you'd be the liaison between planning commission and
Wednesday,
here, and that's our
tomorrow.
biggest problem. If you, I don't want to step on your toes. If you want to see it, I've seen enough of it.
Well, you mean to go to court or going over there?
Going over there to the
I'll
south.
go
Yeah.
whenever we can go over there.
I mean, I thought you might find it interesting.
Yeah, well, I went and inspected the other one before, you know, so. But I thought we had to do that before the court did.
We were supposed to, that was one of their conditions of the judge, but the
But-
court date was yesterday, and I just looked on my desk when I came in, and the attorney did call me yesterday afternoon. So I'll call back tomorrow morning.
All right,
Yeah, so.
all we can do, try to
Yeah, well.
try to stay on top of it. So. Okay, anything else on that item before we move on? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. First item we have is the engineering standards discussion. So Matt, I'm going to kind of turn it over to you a little bit. You can explain about our engineering standards.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. We looked at a draft. I think Steve Jackson, your planner, was looking at a couple ordinances, including the engineering standard, but that was before we came on board. And then Cindy forwarded me that version. And before that, I was looking, doing my homework with the township and trying to locate these standards. And I think these were drafted back in '97.
I would say right around then. I was here, and I started in '98, so
It was during Dolores Michaels' things.
it was before that, but that's what ended our suit with her, was those set of standards.
Those set of standards, I think
Yeah.
those came just before that.
Yeah, and going through them, I mean, they're really old. They reference really old criteria and requirements. And for example, for acceptance standards, this ordinance asks for a Mylar copy of the as-built. I don't know if you guys remember what a Mylar sheet would look like. Nobody does that. I have not seen a Mylar sheet since 1999. So this is a very old document and does not reflect current, construction standard. So what I would like to recommend to the township is that we've just gone through an updated Lennox Township. So we use that as a template rather than recreate the entire ordinance. We'll just copy that and tailor it towards for Richmond Township use. And then we'll create the standard detail sheets. The way that we do, there's an ordinance that generally state what the regulations are, and then there are the standard detail sheets which we periodically update along with review checklists and certain details that does not have to go into an ordinance.
I was going to ask you, are those made part of the ordinance, or do you refer to them as an appendix?
You will refer to them as the current standards.
So that you would adopt the ordinance and it will reflect the
This
most
way-
current standards or the most up-to-date standards?
Correct.
Okay.
So this way you don't have to change the ordinance every time you
Right.
change the standard.
Yeah,
Let's say
that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's say they stopped using ductile iron for water main. Now everything is plastic. So now we have to go through and change all our ordinance. No, it just reflects. It references the standard detail sheet. And this ordinance give the engineer some flexibility and the township to update these detail sheets so it's always current. And your ordinance will stay the way they are. So we don't have to go through the public hearings and all that. So if the board would like to authorize us, I think I sent Cindy a call.
It was not to exceed $1,952.
Correct. So we'll rewrite the ordinance, the land development, I think section 61, chapter 61. And then we'll bring a draft back to the township and the attorney to review. Once you're happy with it, we'll go through the publication and the township formal adoption.
Okay.
How does the board feel about updating their standards?
I think we have.
We have to.
Yeah, I think that's
In
a
doing
relatively.
Matt, roughly looking over this, and I'm no expert at this. Does this require blueprints for whatever is being done in the township? Because it's kind of said general plan submission requirements. All plans should be submitted shall be 24-inch by 30 white print with blue and black lines. Because I know at times, you know, a few times that I've done a porch addition or a deck, you know, you submit a drawing that I did myself on a piece of paper.
The restaurant.
Are you looking at the old one or the new one?
The new one, I mean. Well, the new one require more detailed drawings or?
Correct.
Okay.
It always has to be on a 24/36 done by a professional engineer or a land surveyor. Now, there are some exceptions. A plot plan could be done by a surveyor, also for a residential home. In addition, it's really up to the building department with that flexibility. So there's always, unless waived by so-and-so.
Oh, okay.
But the general would always require a professional.
So if I take something to Charlie and he's either going to accept it or say, this is not acceptable, you got to present me with this type of drawing because it's too big of a project or it's, you know, this is too.
Correct.
He could always waive that
Yeah.
professional service thing.
Well, I think that's basically what it does now, but I was just wondering if this is going to make it mandatory.
No, it doesn't sound like it.
No, like he said, it's made to where
It-
somebody has to sign off on it if it's
Right.
going to be.
It's liability.
Yes.
Right,
And you don't want to accept anything not done by a professional.
right.
You know,
Who's gonna
in
take
most
liability?
projects, sure.
Because once the township approves these set of prints, regardless if a 6-year-old or a professional engineer done it, you take the liability because
Yeah.
you gave approval
You
to go
allow
and
it.
construct that piece of paper. So we don't want to bring back the liability back to the township. It always goes to the professional.
Okay. Was everybody okay with that? And, so if I
Mhm.
could
Oh,
get
yeah.
a motion to authorize Surman, Tri-County Engineering to proceed with updating our ordinance, or I'm sorry, our engineering standards for a cost not to exceed $2,000. Easy. Is that motion?
I make that motion.
Support?
Or,
All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Surman, for explaining all that.
Absolutely.
Next item we have is the clerk meeting update. Jeremy, what you got?
Yeah, I just copied 4 little things for you guys, just because these were kind of a little bit important. Regarding parliamentary procedure, silence gives consent. So if you're going to go against the motion, you need to really be boisterous. I know that Cheryl had it was a couple meetings ago, she made sure Lori knew that she was a no. And really, I wanted her to see this because she never said no. She was just silent, you know. So if you guys want to be heard, you need to be heard.
Okay.
Under the Open Meetings Act part, we've done this for a long time. Sharon even said we need to really kind of watch it back when she said this, and that's where we can't put conditions on the attendance of making them give their name, address, and other information. Anybody out in the public, and how you ask for their name, their address, and whatnot. Yeah. And we gotta make sure it never falls in the minutes, which Lori never puts it in the
what about
minutes.
having it signed in? Is that basically the same?
We get asked them to sign? They don't have to?
They don't really have to.
It's voluntary.
Yeah, it's all voluntary. I mean, we could get ourselves in trouble by pinpointing people, you know. And then there was just a few things regarding the roll call votes and whatnot, and how the board needs to wean themselves on, or really it's the minute taker of putting in all the discussion, when really it's a matter of what was done, not what was said. All that stuff can come back to you if you wind up in court. Anyway, I gave you guys the agenda. And on the agenda, and this is like all the current laws on every little, like everything that affects affects us. And Chris, I know you can reflect on this quite a bit, but it'll be in my office, and it's
Okay.
every little thing. So we are always staying current on the laws, and I
Okay.
just want to share it with you guys.
Good.
Thank you.
That's it.
Yeah, great, thank you.
But those were the main things.
Is this stuff we just looked up, or did you go to Brooks?
No, me and Lori went to our conference.
Ah, so you
Yeah.
got it from, okay.
Yep.
Good.
So I'll always try to keep you up to date on
Mhm.
what's changing.
Okay. I'll make a point to look through that.
Yeah, because it'll help you out with the whole running meetings
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have to tweak it. So, that'll help, so thank you so much for all that information.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions for Kathy on the clerk meeting?
Just, oh, this is a, I always thought that the, like the supervisor really doesn't have a vote, he just cast if it's a tie. Is that true? Or does he have a vote?
They have a
But I thought he didn't have to vote unless there's, you know, if it ends up 2-2, then he makes this up.
The deciding thing.
Yeah.
Everybody that's on the board has a vote, but if you're
So
going
nobody's,
to
like it
abstain
says in
from
here,
a vote,
everybody's equal.
right, and if you abstain from a vote, but you don't leave,
Yeah.
you're going to be in the quorum. So really, ultimately, if you're going to abstain from a vote, you need to leave. That would knock it down to 4 people
Okay.
versus your quorum would stay and you're abstaining, not
Hmm.
giving yourself the advantage of the
Yeah.
vote.
And I think with, I'm sorry, were you done?
No?
I'm sorry. I think what you might be thinking of is, I always thought for a long time that when you did a roll call vote, the supervisor went last.
Oh.
So if it was
Maybe
tied,
that's-
that would be the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of different schools of thought on it. So in my head, that's what I always thought,
Mhm.
but not everybody does that.
And even in that, they also said on the roll call vote, did you see that?
Yeah. Mhm.
How it's like all zero, you know, you just do 7 A's, 0 nays, or 6 A's, 1 nay. So your no vote is the only one that should be recorded as a name. Otherwise, all your
I think I
A's.
did it in the minutes.
Yeah.
You approve it as a group, but, no.
Right,
All
because
right.
usually I'll ask Vern, and you'll say, yeah, whatever, you know, go through. But if you're all A's, it just gets written out as all A's, 0 nays. Yeah. So that was one thing that was
I
nice to
didn't know
know.
that.
Yeah.
So it's a no, you put their name in.
Yeah. If it's a no, it's Wilson, and if it's absent. An absence is a no, right? Detailed hand. Constant results should be listed, record. Yeses are the names, and no's are Wilson, absent. And an absent doesn't necessarily mean a no, it's just they're absent, their vote doesn't get counted. So it would be one less person
Mhm.
that day. So it wouldn't be your full 5, it would be 4.
Sure. Okay. Okay, well, excellent. Sounds like pretty informative then.
There, it is, really.
Good.
I'll make sure you have this book
Definitely.
handy.
Definitely, thank you so much, Kathy. Okay, if nothing else, we'll move on to the next item we have, the post cleanup day. I just want to tell everybody, thank you for coming out, we did, and it was a great day, minus the weather, it was a little terrible, but,
It was wet, but it was good.
We had,
it did, we had a good turnout, we had about 4.5 dumpsters of tires, and I don't know if we got about half a dumpster of trash, it was mostly
yeah,
tires.
yeah, barely that.
Yeah.
And, did we ever find out who was turned away?
No, I never got any messages or anything. There was a little confusion at the beginning. I think the very first one, what was it, where they showed up with trash, and
Trash.
the GFL guy said that they were taking
And
trash. And I pulled in after the guy was upset and left, and I squared it away with GFL, thinking, well, tires were secondary to trash, we can take trash, the trash can. So we got
For some
squared in.
reason, yeah, they screwed that. We didn't.
Yeah, that was on GFL.
We just didn't catch it.
They felt terrible about it after the fact, but nonetheless, one got away, and nobody knew, even Vern didn't know who it was.
One got away.
And that's not bad, you know, one out of the whole day.
Yeah.
I would like to have called them and said, I'm sorry for the
Yeah.
confusion, just come
Yeah,
back.
at least call.
Yeah, but
Well, if he was
nonetheless,
that upset, he would have got a hold of you.
absolutely.
Right.
I think we had to do a count on the tire, roughly 500.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a ton.
Oh my gosh, so many tires, very little trash.
A lot of big ones.
How many dumpsters was that?
4.5.
4.5, held 500?
Yeah. We had a lot of truck tires and
Oh, yeah,
tractor
tractor
tires.
tires. But the trash takes most stuff at the curb, well, I say curb, but at the end of the road.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that may have a lot to do with the little trash amount of tires that everybody's having to get rid of. And there's still a stack of tires that showed up. Not dealer, is it road over there, maybe Craigman?
Oh, yeah.
After all that, so I gotta go out there and pick it up.
Yeah, it doesn't make no sense.
It doesn't, we give the opportunity to it. Were we going to do something about paying the helpers, as we had talked about?
Yeah, and I want to get with you and Vern to find
Yeah.
out all the kids involved.
Okay.
I looked up in the past, and it was really just all the adults, right? And we paid them each $50 a day. Now, I don't know if you guys want to put the kids in a different bracket or what, but there were quite a few kids.
Mhm.
There were 4 or 5, I don't know. You guys tell me what you want.
Yeah, I mean, you want to give them $25 or something?
That's what I was
For kids,
thinking.
And give the adults 50, give the kids 25, I'd be all for that.
Are you guys good with that?
Yeah.
I'm good.
So I just need to know names
Yeah,
and
we'll get
addresses.
together.
Yeah. No.
Okay. Okay, well, that sounds good.
Okay.
But no, it was great and. it was
Sorry I
great.
missed it. First
That's
one I
okay.
missed in a really long time. I
We
know.
missed hot dogs. No, the bagels
Lots of food, lots of rain.
and
lots of
rain, we
wet.
missed the rain.
You missed out on hot dogs.
Yeah.
That's close.
Okay, anybody want to add that up before I move on?
Did, you should send a thank you to Randy.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, he lets us use the bathroom, we stayed in the barn out of the rain, he helped out a lot.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. You'll get a thank you card out.
Yeah, or something for me.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Okay. All right, next item we have is the add-on of the holiday schedule. In our building department report, our office manager had asked, or requested the board to discuss about Veterans Day coming up, if we would consider closing the office that day. We never have in the past, but I just wanted to bring it to the board for discussion and see what everybody thought. So, let's try this. Can I get a motion to discuss?
I'll make a motion.
Support?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we'll start with Cindy.
Well, I don't have a super strong feeling one way or the other. I mean, I never mind giving the girls another day off.
Right.
When I mentioned it before the meeting, I wasn't realizing that would mean we're closed Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday that week, which is a lot. I did read Treasurer Zalka's memo. You know, maybe we trade Veterans Day for Columbus Day. She also pointed out, which I wasn't even thinking, we did adopt the personnel policy. In our personnel policy, it doesn't say that we're closed that day. So maybe we revisit this in January or when we're discussing the budget, or, you know, do some bigger items like setting a meeting, I don't know.
Right.
So I guess if I have to give you a yes or no, I'd say I am not in favor right now
Of
of
this?
them being closed.
Okay.
It won't break my heart if the board decides to close them, I'll be fine with it, but
Okay.
I just feel like if we're gonna do it, we have to change personnel policy to reflect that.
Okay.
When is Veterans Day, November?
11, it's Thursday.
Okay.
I actually think the same way. I mean, you gotta wait and discuss it. If we get to stand behind this. This is a personnel policy, right?
Sure.
So,
Plus, it's extra money going out that we did the budget, so we brought it up in budget time. I'm not opposed to it, but I think.
Yeah, if we're gonna change it, we should change the policy.
Yeah, because when do we set these at the beginning of the year, every financial year?
when we start doing the budget
Yeah.
meetings, yeah.
We'll do it at that point. We can discuss it.
We set it like this for this year, I think we just stick with it.
Sure.
And then if we have to change it. I think it makes sense. The only thing is, a lot of times, if a lot of everything else is closed, it doesn't really matter. We want people getting pets and stuff. You know, it might be over. I would be in favor of doing it with Columbus Day and doing veterans.
There you go.
I think the veterans need to be honored
Me too,
for Columbus.
me too.
Sure.
That's fine.
And I've heard that out in the public too.
Yeah. So maybe just flip those for the next year in the personnel policy.
That's,
I'll make a note, so at budget time, when we discuss that, we approve it for the year, we can make the change then, because we're past goals.
Right.
So,
Yep.
okay, perfect. So we're not taking action, so there's no.
Right?
We're good.
Next item we have is items for next agenda. So remember, we probably won't have anything for the next meeting, you think, as far as engineering standards? Add to the agenda? It's okay if not, but.
November 10th.
Yeah. Okay, we'll leave it up. Until I hear from, unless I hear from you, we'll leave it up. So.
That's very short for,
Okay.
to put it together, and then have the attorney look at it too, and then bring it back for the board.
Okay, well, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I would say it would maybe ready for the attorney's review, but,
Okay. Okay, well, that's fine. Just wanted to throw it out there.
yeah.
Anybody else think of anything for next agenda
Do
yet?
you know, have you talked to John at all?
I talked to John today.
And did he say anything about unemployment or
No.
audit or?
No, we were talking about our performance. We weren't talking about unemployment yet. It was kind of a quick conversation on the way home.
Jeff, has he showed up for you guys yet?
We picked up all of our stuff. He usually picks up a lot of stuff from us. We ship a lot of stuff on like USB drives and stuff.
Right.
He's received all of that, but I have not heard anything back from him yet. That was about maybe 3 weeks ago.
So it's about a month behind, right? So we're looking at a month behind it. Usually he shows up to do the audit like October, November, and comes December.
Election time, seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
So he's not really late. I just wondered if you heard
Okay.
anything on the unemployment or talked to him or.
No, I kept asking Cheryl if she heard about it. I didn't hear anything from her.
Okay.
Okay. All right, well, let me know if there's anything we can add. I'm sure we'll have something by November 10th. So there's nothing else to add. Next item we have is call to the board. You may have anything to share with the board.
When are we gonna go see Floyd?
Whenever you want. You want me to reach out? I was over the weekend. You know, I should wait till our meeting.
No, okay. We need to schedule,
Yeah.
that's all.
And Jeff, I seen you had something about flu shots available at the EMS now.
We do have flu shots available. Right now, we're just doing about a walk-in basis. We don't have like a drive-through schedule. The last couple of years, we didn't get a lot of takers on the drive-through, so it was a lot of work to, put it on. But we do have them available. So you can walk in anytime during business hours and get a flu shot. There is some public health concern out there that this flu season may be a little worse than last. Just because last flu season there was, more restrictions in place about traveling, people going places, and groups gathering. And there is some reasonable belief that we didn't grow a lot of immunities last year because, everything was going on. So they're a little worried about flu season being a little worse. So we're certainly encouraging people to get their flu shot.
What about doing your booster and flu at the same time? Have you heard anybody doing
You
that?
can absolutely do them both at the same time, according to the Centers for Disease Control, yes.
And about something.
You can go in, now we do not have the COVID boosters at EMS, they're very widely available, but literally if you go into like your local pharmacy, they'll put your booster in one arm and your flu shot in the other.
Now, is there still restrictions on the booster or no?
There is. The 65 and over, or anybody above 16 with certain pre-existing medical conditions, hypertension, cardiac disease, diabetes, COPD, lung-type diseases, and certainly anything that would affect your immune system negatively, you can get the booster. And then anybody that is it really leaves it pretty broad, but anybody who has a job that more readily exposes them to the public. So they've used the example of healthcare workers and like grocery store employees, but really the language is much broader than that. If you are a person who is out on a daily basis being exposed to the public versus a person working at home, doing work not with the public, you would be eligible for a booster if you got the Pfizer vaccine. Moderna and Johnson & Johnson have not been approved for boosters yet. except in the case of Moderna, and that's only for the immune compromised. So people that are undergoing chemotherapy treatment, people that have solid organ transplants, things like that.
So I wouldn't have to provide proof, or I do have to provide proof if I go?
You would not, no, there's a form that says, the form that the pharmacy has, when I got my booster, what said basically, do you have a job that exposes you to the public?
Okay. And then one other question, and I don't even know if you're at liberty to say, but can you elaborate what that infusion thing is?
So the monoclonal antibodies are not a replacement for the vaccine. Let me make that clear first. We're big vaccine advocates at the EMS. I'm personally a big vaccine advocate based on what we've seen in the community. So first and foremost, we want people unvaccinated to get vaccinated. And I want to make that absolutely clear. The monoclonal antibodies are an antibody that blunts some of the effect of COVID once you have got it. So basically, if somebody does get COVID, we have a medicine EMS that's given through an IV that once you have a positive test result and you meet certain criteria, and the criteria, it's kind of a laundry list of things, but over 65, or if you have a BMI, body mass index over 25, which about 90% of the population has, so most people qualify, or if you have a number of different medical conditions, you can qualify to get the monoclonal antibodies. Do not call 911 for that. We don't respond with them on the ambulance. This is something that we schedule to come in and do within people's homes. It can only be done with an order from your personal physician after you have received a positive PCR test. That's the test that takes a little longer to come back. So if you get your PCR test is positive, and you talk to your physician, and you meet the qualifications, your physician can call us, and we usually schedule a time within about 24 hours to send a paramedic unit out to your home and administer monoclonals. It takes about an hour to administer them and about an hour to monitor you after we administer them. And the hope is that we keep you out of the hospital, basically. We're so busy with COVID cases right now at EMS, where people are having to go to the hospital by ambulance, that it's easier if we can schedule time to come see you and keep you from calling 911. We are that busy with the curve.
Well, thank you. I was wondering what that was. How it works.
Thanks for that explanation.
Is there a possibility to mix Pfizer and Moderna?
I think we'll know more about that later this week. It sounds like that's one of the things that the FDA and the CDC are going to be looking at when they have these meetings later this week. So I think there may be they're at least discussing that, I don't know. But what the science will decide in the doctors, I don't have an answer for.
And the boosters at like CVS and Kroger's, and you can walk in.
Right now, if you got the Pfizer vaccine, I can tell you from personal experience, I walked into CVS at 7 p.m. one night and I was out there by 7:30.
County's limited to the work building, so I got my yeah, I drove by all day, so
Oh, yeah,
it's not a big
that's
deal for
right.
me, so.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Anything else for call of the board? All right, hearing nothing else, we'll go down to general public comment. Any public comment tonight? Okay. No public comment, so the next item we have tonight is just adjournment. Get a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, I have one question. Like, when we